Welcome to Drawing Worlds. I'm the DMG, and this episode is about drawing some character portraits. And I'm just going to start off with a dwarf. I'm going to use the technical pencil to work out where all the various shapes of the head. His head is turned to the left, and we're going to have him looking a little bit gruff and staring at you. So I find it a lot easier to draw male sort of faces, and the next character I'm going to do is going to be female. So angular and lots of definition and that sort of thing is easy to do with males, and a lot of male artists find it very difficult to draw female figures and female faces. Of course, there are people who can do it very, very well. I just happen to be one of those who finds it quite difficult to do, and sometimes I have to use photographic reference, but I'm not using photographic reference from this. This is just my idea of what a dwarf should look like, which is a sort of 70s rock biker. And yeah, so we're going to give him the handlebar moustache, the long hair, and of course the big eyebrows. And he's looking quite gruff and determined. So using the brush pen to do the main outlines, and then I'm using a 0.1 mil nib in order to do the crosshatch and line shadows. And of course I will begin to use the brush marker for doing just a black background. So it's a blank black background. Now you see there, of course, the brush marker, the nib was not nourished, as I've talked about in previous videos. When you store your pens in a certain way, if the ink is not flowing down into the nib, then it's not nourished, and you basically have to turn them upside down. So there I just add a few little squiggles underneath to represent some things about his person. I'm not getting hugely into the clothes and that. This is more of a facial character portrait than a full-blown portrait with clothes and that sort of thing. So now I'm beginning to do the outlines and structure of the feminine female face. And you'll see that I have to do various different iterations of this. The lips are too big, the eyes are wrong, the face begins to start to look a little bit masculine, and these are all the sort of problems that you have to work through to try to get the structure right. And you'll see I have to draw this several different times. I probably spend more time on this one than I did on the dwarf, but this has fewer characteristics to it. Part of that is probably because the males obviously used to being in the company of males and drawing male figures, and especially when you're doing fantasy and science fiction, there's a preponderance of male characters, male soldiers and stuff like that. And as obviously the games begin to diversify, that obviously begins to change, and then the artists have to change as well. And there's this whole paradigm shift that's beginning to happen now in role-playing games and illustrations for that sort of thing. And so, people are becoming better and better at drawing female characters. Of course, the trope is obviously that, a lot of the female characters are wearing skimpy armor and all that kind of stuff. And as an artist, you want to try to draw attractive characters. But, it's a very difficult paradigm to think about and to cover, because what attracts one person may not attract another. And so attraction and beauty are in the eye of the beholder. Now, obviously now I am going to be working on the hair and the shadows on the face. So the hair has a little bit more sheen to it. And I don't want to do as many shadows, because obviously then you begin to change the detail of the face. Yeah, I'm never 100% happy with feminine faces that I've drawn. And yeah, it's just one of those things. As an artist, you always want to try to do better in your own mind. Other people may look at it and go, "Oh, that's great. How did you draw it?" In the back of your mind is like, "Nah, it's not great. It's got to be improved upon." and you begin to see all the little errors and things that are cropping up, which you think are errors but not really errors. As we've talked about before, some of these accidents are just, it's part of the image. It's what gives the image and the style of your drawing its uniqueness. So not a huge amount of detail going into that picture. It's mainly just texture for the hair, and a little bit of shading. But now we're going to do an orc. So this is going to be a more sort of happy-go-lucky pit fighter guy, and he's going to have a lot of different exaggerated angles in him. So large jaw, bald head with Einstein-type hair at the back, massive lower jaw fangs, and I purposely illustrated there first so that you can then create the form of the lips around the teeth, and big ears. So this may not be traditional in terms of the way people draw orcs. Give them a nice goatee as well. You obviously he's going to have a thick neck, and he's got a little bit of a black eye happening on the left eye there. So there's just a lot of weird detail. The upturned nose, sort of almost like pig snout nose. Just a lot of character in the face. So obviously here an attempt to do wildly different characters. This is for an RPG rulebook for 70 system. So variation in character and style is important to emphasize that people can play different things. So again, we're just working on texture and shadow. This whole project doesn't take super long. I think this entire project took an hour and 15 minutes to do all 4 of these pictures. There's obviously one more to go. And again, it's just a portrait, so we're not doing anything fancy in the background or anything like that. So important not to overdo things. Sort of, okay, it's done. There's one step I still want to do here, and that's with the white marker, the white pen, and that's to get all the hairs. So emphasize the hairs. So you can see here with the white ballpoint. This is a signet, I think. There's links to it in the description below, and that just helps to bring out the texture of the hair in the different portraits there, especially on things like the eyebrows and the back hair of the orc character. So now we're going to take a little bit more of a different tack, and we're going to do a cat person. As anybody who's followed me on my other channels, the DMG Info, you will know that I'm a cat person, and so I'm going to do a cat character. So this is going to be sort of a skullduggerous person, skullduggerous cat, as most cats are. We're going to have sort of a thief look. So we're going to give him a hood, and his face will be in shadow. So using the brush pen again to get the outlines going. Interesting thing about most creatures I found out is that human beings are one of the few creatures that actually has a chin. So most other creatures do not. So I've been sort of thinking about that a lot in terms of if you were going to humanize other creatures, should they have chins or should they not have chins? So the fangs, unfortunately, were a little bit lost where I used the marker there to fill in the dark area of the mouth. So we're going to draw that back in with the white ballpoint a little bit later on. And of course I'm just doing the black background around the edges, and I'll leave some of the white with the whiskers there. So just a nice dark shadow around the eyes. As I've said in previous videos, I like to use deep shadow to try to hide certain details and forms and things, because it's a quick way of getting what you want and not having to spend a lot of time doing all the line work and everything where the deep shadow is. But this is okay. We just need to get some of the texture going. I'm doing a little bit of a wobble line for the hood to give it a little bit of texture, and then just come in with the white pen and do a little bit of the fuzz on the chin area and the ears, and then redo the fangs and a little bit of shadow on the nose. And that's it. Nice Thank you for watching. Subscribe. How can you get cool stuff and support the channel? Buy things like t-shirts, mugs, tank tops, miniskirts, duvet covers, phone covers, tablet covers, and of course my personal favorite, throw pillow covers from redbubble.com/people/the DNG info. Link in the description.